Everybody is dealing with something. And that's really why I want to share these stories, because the more stories we tell, the more people can relate to them, and hopefully we can help, get through their own struggle.
Yeah, so it's super simple to do a podcast. You basically just need a couple of microphones and sit down and talk for a little while.
Okay, we're here with Molly today. We're doing a podcast.
Woohoo!
We're constantly publishing new content. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.
Okay, cool. Welcome to the Tattoos of My Soul podcast. Today I have Robert McDaniel with me, better known as Big Rob Savage. So welcome. How you doing today?
Hello. Very well. How about yourself?
I'm good. You're coming to us from Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes.
So we've actually been talking about doing this for a while, and we're both just so crazy busy.
No.
Kind of almost in the same place. You and your wife started a new business, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes,
Yes.
as did Lindsey and I. And it's just been, if anybody listening who has started a business can relate, it's like just crazy. It's like spinning plates. There is so much to do. So I'm really glad to have you on. We spoke several months ago. We've never met. I actually kind of met you, I guess, over Messenger, Facebook Messenger, because you have followed Lindsey for years and followed him in previous companies. And he was like, hey, you need to talk to this guy. He's got a really cool story. And so that's how you and I initially connected, was just kind of shooting messages back and forth. And then we talked several months back, I think it was in the fall, and you shared briefly with me your story and just kind of your ministry. And I just right away was like, I just love listening to you talk, because you've got such a cool story and such a different perspective on a lot of different things. So I've been anxious to have you on, because I think our listeners are really going to gain a lot of just wisdom and insight just hearing, what you've been through and what you and your wife are doing now. So I'm excited to have you on. Yep.
Awesome. I'm very excited to be here as well.
Thank you. So first thing I always ask everybody when they come on, and this is just like, I'm such a words person. Like I think words are so powerful. They can really make or break your mindset. And so I always ask people, what is a quote? It can be motivational, inspirational, or even a Bible verse that has played a big part for you in your life.
I think what I live by the most from the time I was a child, even until now, even though I am a man of God, and my dad's from Monroe, Arkansas, dirt roads, in the sticks, had to get out of school in the third grade and start picking cotton. Wow. So it was, a different time. And, but one of the things he always said that motivated me to be the man I am today, and no challenge is above me, is going to be broken, but I'm going to say it like he taught me, is this is how he says it. Ain't no such thing as can't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's something you won't hear me say. I can't. I don't know how to say that, because, through the trials and struggles that he grew up, that I learned about, and then also mine as well, I never seen him say I can't. And so he taught me through example, there's no such thing as I can't. And that's probably something that's inspired me throughout my whole life, even now today. Now, Bible verses and the Word of God, I've got some that I live by as well too, but I would say from a child and being an entrepreneur and doing so many things, that's probably inspired me the most. Yeah,
I love that, because, and I'm not surprised that you have words like that you live by, because, anything that I ever see you post is so the opposite. I can do anything that I put my mind to. You are like ultra positive, which I think is probably what drew me to follow you, because I am all about the mindset, and I really think that can make such a huge difference in our lives, is when we decide to be positive, and you clearly do that on a daily basis. So give everybody, I was thinking about like, okay, how do I introduce you? You are a musician. I would call you like a faith-based rapper. Is that a good description? You are a restaurant owner. You and your wife Tracy just opened up an amazing restaurant, which I want you to tell the whole story of how that even came to be.
Yes.
Like, what? Just kind of give everybody a snapshot of who Big Rob Savage is.
Okay. So I'm going to give a quick one. But
Okay.
So Tracy and I have been together 31 years. And so fresh out of high school, we started a business in a dump truck business where we would do new construction cleans for houses. So we've been in business literally ever since we got out of high school. And so I don't know, we owned 4 or 5 businesses. We owned a restaurant, we owned a deli, we owned a remodeling company. And then I got into plumbing more than anything else. So I got my master's in plumbing, started a plumbing company when I was 27, and did that probably for about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And we exploded in our company so big in Kansas City that we had so many people trying to buy my company because of all the clientele we had.
Wow.
And so Tracy actually came in the office and was the office manager. And because I'm a visionary and I'm a doer, but a lot of the small stuff and behind the scenes stuff, I'm the worst. I have to hire it out or it won't get done. I'm just not real good with a lot of small stuff. And that's where she comes in and just changes the whole ball game.
Yeah.
And so that's me young, early on. 27 years old, I give my life to God. I didn't grow up a Christian. I grew up in a very non-Christian home, very dysfunctional, a lot of chaos, divorce, violence, all those things. And so I didn't know who God was or what religion was. I didn't go to church. I didn't have a clue. So I had an accident, an ATV accident when I was about 27 years old as well. And that was the change of my life forever. I was an adrenaline junkie. And so I didn't care if I lived or died. And I know that sounds really bad, but I wasn't like suicidal. I'm going to kill myself. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever happens, happens. And I'm good with it. If it's good or bad or whatever, it's okay. And I fell off a cliff. I went up this big mountain in Kentucky. And, Missouri has hills. Kentucky has like mountain hills.
Yeah.
So I
Different
was in
story.
heaven there. I was like, this is amazing. So anyway, I go up this mountain that nobody should have ever even walked up because at the top it crested back. I'll get all the way to the top. My bike teeter-totters. I have to jump off. I free fall down the cliff, the wall. It's like just a wall of dirt and rocks.
Yeah.
And trees growing out the side like this. I'm hitting my head on it and get to the bottom. And it's a dried out creek. And when I get to the bottom of it, I was thinking, just as I was thinking this, I'm so glad the bike didn't fall on me. As soon as I said that, bam, it crushed me.
It did. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I had an out of body experience. My wife and kids were looking at me crying and I could see them, but I couldn't respond. I couldn't talk to them. I couldn't move my body.
Yeah.
And so I told God, and I didn't know who God was, or I didn't know anything. I didn't know to say Jesus or Allah or Buddha or anything. I'm being honest. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know who I was talking to, but I said, God, if you give me a second chance to live, I'll live the rest of my life for you so I can teach them about you. And I'll live the rest of my life for you. And right then when I said that, life jumped back in my body and I jumped off the ground, and it scared Tracy. She thought I was in shock because I was literally just, laying there all like folded up, and then I just jumped back off the ground. So, and I meant that. So my relationship with God, and the reason I want to share that is because everything else I'm going to say about who I am is defined by that.
Yeah,
and the reason I believe God the way I believe God is because I didn't start off with a religious background or somebody teaching me how to pray. My relationship with God started off intimate.
Yeah.
And so I've literally never believed there's not anything he can't do. I'm not going to make it in this one. I never believed that because he loved me when I was the biggest turd of all. And I just say it like that. I mean, I didn't short myself on any excitement, any sin. I was just completely as worldly as you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And he loved me enough to bring me back for my family. And that made me look at him different forever. How could you love somebody so broken or so bad. And so that changed me forever. It also never allowed me to judge people or look down on people, because I always seen myself as I was at the bottom of the barrel when he saved me. So how could I ever judge anybody?
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of my relationship with God. We can talk more about that later. But anyway, I was a full-blown mess, and I was an alcoholic. I drank at least a case of beer a day, at least a fifth of whiskey every single day, minimum. Wow. And I wasn't like a drunk, like boom, like that. Yeah. I could just consume a lot of alcohol because I'd been drinking at that time since I was 13 years old daily. I didn't miss days of drinking. I drank like that daily. And so I knew that I couldn't keep drinking and serve God. Not that drinking was so bad that he wouldn't accept me, but I just knew that the way I drink, that's my comfort, that's my peace. That's the only time I can actually settle down, because when I'm not drinking, I'm just all this and that. And so I said, God, I don't want to try to quit drinking. I need you to take the taste out of my mouth. I didn't know how to pray, Molly. Nobody taught me to say that. I'm talking to him just like I'm talking to you. And he saved me. So if you save me, you can take it from me too. And just as he is my witness, and he's sitting here with you and I right now, he took the taste of alcohol out of my mouth, and I never desired to drink again. Yeah. And before that, there's no such thing as I'm not going to drink. There's no such thing as that. If you tell me I'm not going to drink, I would laugh at you. There's whatever.
Because it was so natural to you. Like, it just was so second nature. But I mean, if you start at 13, how could it not be, That's a very ingrained habit.
Severe addiction. And there's a lot more testimonies where that one came from, but that's the start of what I'm getting ready to share with you. From there, my plumbing company took off. We exploded. Our life completely changed. Tracy and I's relationship before that was very dysfunctional. She came from a dysfunctional background. So when we conversate and our communication is to one another, we just argue and fight. That's what we thought communication was. We didn't have a clue. And so it was very dysfunctional. But from that point forward, with God in our lives, things changed drastically. So I started a plumbing company. I sold it. That's 2002. So like within 7 years, I sold my company. And we can talk more about the reason I sold it anyway. I didn't really want to. But anyway, I sold my company, and pretty much I was doing full-time ministry, which literally meant, my faith in God is different from most. So like I wake up, God, what do you want me to do today? You know what I mean? Like that kind of deal. So I did that for a while, and my son was thinking he was going to the NFL. He was going to college, to the Razorbacks, blew his knee out, wasn't able to go. He went through a little time of depression, calls me back, says, Dad, would you teach me plumbing? I want to learn how to plumb. So I started the company back up, taught him. He runs the company now. But since he runs the company now, we still have our plumbing company. We have FaithWorks Productions. As far as film goes, we do reality TV, action series, commercials, music videos for people here in Kansas City, and wherever else if needed. And then we have FaithWorks Productions as well on the music side, where we own a record label, and we have 7 artists. We also have Savage Saloon that I'm setting in now, and we have it's a restaurant / event space. So like the event space is for 70s night, 80s night, 90s night, 50s night, two-step, line dancing. Somebody wants to come in and do poetry or throw cornhole bags. So we set it up for a place for a good experience for people, that we're going to have events consistently and regularly. So we're really, really excited about that. I've got a strong passion for cooking food that people like. So I'm really not a cook. Like, if you want me to just go cook spaghetti, I can, but I don't enjoy that. Yeah. But if you tell me you want a T-bone steak, mid-rare, and you want lines in it, oh man, I'm gonna. That's what I like to do.
You're the guy.
And I have a strong passion for that. And one other thing we do is called the Blessing Bandits, and I'll share a little bit about it because actually we're actually doing some film with it right now, which was a little difficult for me. because it's so passionate. But we have a ministry that if we find out, and people call us all the time with people who have needs. I'll just give you a couple examples. The first one we ever did was probably about 25 years ago, or 20 years ago. And it was a single mom. I came over there to do some plumbing, and the house was just absolutely destroyed. I had no idea that they were this poor and it was this bad. So her plumbing was really bad. Anyway, I told her, well, in order for me to do this plumbing, you guys are going to have to be out of the house. They're poor. They don't have any money. So we sent them down to the Lake of the Ozarks. But the reason I was able to get them out of the house, I said, there's going to be this really bad raw sewer gas that's going to be coming in here, and it could be dangerous, which is true, but really it probably wouldn't kill them or nothing. But I made it seem that way just to get them out because they never went anywhere.
Okay.
So within 2 days, we completely redid upstairs, all new furniture, walls, fixtures,
that's so awesome.
New furniture, TV, stereo, kitchen cabinet, sink, faucet. And then downstairs, there was a basement that was unfinished. We put a bathroom in the basement and finished out all the bedrooms and put a laundry room downstairs. So 2 days, she leaves Friday after work. She comes back home Sunday evening, and that's what we had. And the reason we call it the Blessing Bandits is because when we do these, I don't do it because it makes me feel good about myself. It's to show people that God loves them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so from that point forward, anytime we did another one, I would always get the keys to someone's house while they were gone. And we would fulfill a need all the way from giving somebody a car, fixing up their house, paying their bills, even coming in and just cleaning their house, washing dishes and laundry and folding clothes. But I never let them know that it was me.
Wow.
I always I always force the person to never allow them to know that it was me. That's where the bandit part is.
Okay.
So it's blessing and then bandit, because we're
like
gone.
It. Yeah.
So that's
that
another
is,
thing
I
that
can't
we
even
do.
So were you weren't there then when the woman came home? Because I selfishly would have wanted to see her reaction, that would be so exciting to see her come in and her whole house is redone.
Well, so that was my first one, and there was about 30 or 40 people there, and I got all the way in the back, so she couldn't see me.
Okay.
And she just kept saying, "Where's Robert?" I'm probably gonna cry, but to see the joy of them walking in, and the kids were like,
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, that's my purpose. That's what I'm built for. That's my best gear. And so after that, though, because she kept saying, "Where's Robert? Where's Robert?" And then after that, I'm like, okay, so I'm never going to let anybody know it was me again, because I don't want her to
feel like she
think
owes
it
you
was
something.
me. Or don't give me any credit. I don't want any credit. I just wanted you to feel loved.
Yeah.
And so after that, we named it Blessing Bandits, and I said, nope, I'm not letting them know it's me anymore. And so that's how it all started. Yeah. And so we're currently working on a project where there's a guy who's basically paralyzed. We're getting ready to do his house the same way, in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And he has no clue. And I'm super excited because he doesn't even know we're talking about this right now. He thinks I'm just a plumber because I've already come to his house. And I've already told him, okay, let me get everything rolled up. It's really bad. So he thinks I'm coming to fix his stool. Oh,
that's got to be just exciting and I don't know, fun, to just surprise people like that, even if you're just kind of to the side and they don't even know it's you, just to know that. I mean, because people just, some people need that. They need to like you said, you just want them to feel the love of God. I mean, that you hear all the time people say we need to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and that's exactly what you're doing. I can't even think of anything a better example than what you're doing, So that is so awesome. I love that. I did not know that you guys do that. That's great.
It's a secret. It's a secret.
Well, it's not going to be a secret anymore.
Well, I know, and the only reason I'm even telling is because we've been approached by some networks. Okay. So people are going to finally see it, and I didn't want to do that. I was, Tracy, and then our director, they said, they're going to have to see it's you, Robert, but nothing like this has ever been on TV or probably never will be.
Yeah.
And to see your energy and passion for this, people need to see that. So I'm
I think too, like, you know, I understand you're very humble. You don't want all the praise and everything for it. But the flip side of that is by people seeing what you're doing, it could encourage others to do the similar things. Like you could literally encourage people to go out and give and try and do something similar. So, you know, it might influence people that way. But I totally get it. You're obviously a very humble guy, and, you know, you don't like to be in the spotlight in that way. But sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone, I guess. But
and I'm way out of my comfort zone right now with the entertainment and all this. I'm a behind the scenes guy. God's put me right out front.
Right.
And if I wasn't obedient, I wouldn't do it because I don't like it personally. Yeah. But I mean, I'm glad to do it for him. But my personal preference is I'm an introvert, which I probably don't seem like it because I'm very vocal and I have a big personality. Yeah. But he's put me right out here in the front. So
Sure. I can totally relate to that because I kind of feel like I am naturally an introvert as well. I like to keep to myself and pretty quiet. But when God has something that he wants you to do, like if somebody would have ever told me, you know, 5 or 10 years ago, you're going to do a podcast and you're going to be talking to all these people and you're going to, you know, get online and do video, I would have been like, there is no way. I used to, in college, when I remember in college, I had like a speech class and I literally would make myself sick. I would get all red and blotchy when I have to get up and give my speech because I hated talking in front of people. And I think, you know, naturally and you shared a little bit of this with me back in the fall when we talked, but like, you know, God prompts you to do something. It's like, I want you to go this direction. And a lot of the times we say, there's no way. Like, right. You know, you probably have me confused with someone else. But when God is involved, like eventually you kind of find yourself just giving in and following the prompting because it becomes so strong and so apparent that this is what you're supposed to do, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. What about your restaurant? Because I know that there's a pretty special meaning behind even the location of that restaurant and why you guys picked the place you did. Tell us about that.
So what's really interesting about the Savage Saloon is it's a building located in Kansas City where I don't even know if I want to say the name. It was that bad, but there was a lot of just almost anything you can possibly imagine going on here. Like when you walked in, and this is just as a burger place is what it was. When you walked in, there was a stage at a burger place with like stripper poles in the middle. So it'd be like you going in a Subway and then there's a big stage right as soon as you open the door, it's right there. So that was extremely odd and weird. And it was all black and graffitied and it just, they were selling drugs out of here. They were, you know, women were saying there's a lot of different things going on, like, you know, like rape stuff. Now, I wasn't here, so I don't know actually what happened, but everybody in Kansas City knew about this because it was all over the news. Matter of fact, the news approached us when they found out we were even getting in there, like, we want to cover your story. They didn't know what to expect because it was so bad. And they came in here and said, wow. Yeah. Wow. And so what we've been doing is no matter how bad a situation is, it can always be turned beautiful with God's touch. Yep. And so when people come in now, they're mesmerized. They literally cannot believe. And it's not even, I mean, it looks really good. Tracy's really designed it amazingly.
Yeah, it does.
She's done
I've seen
phenomenal
pictures.
job. Yeah. But the atmosphere, everybody keeps saying, just feels so homey here, you know? Yeah. But what that is, that's not even Tracy and I. That's the presence of God. And so what they're feeling is God's presence. And I'm excited about that. You know what I mean? Because people need to feel loved and feel joy and feel welcome and feel needed and all those types of different things. And we offer them that here. And just like I was saying with the events we want to do, those are special experiences that I want people to come and be able to enjoy themselves, have fun of an old memory that, you know, they used to do when they're 20 years ago or something. Yeah. And just come and have a good, fun, peaceful time and go home and just say, wow, we had a great time. That was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that. And I think It's so, you hear people talk about ministry, and a lot of us can get, you can get a little intimidated by that word, like ministry. Like, I can't do that. You just automatically picture somebody like who's in the missions field, who's going to a different country, who's doing all these big, huge things. And in ministry is really just finding your passion, your calling, and then using that for God's purpose, which is like you're doing that in so many different ways. I kind of wonder like when you even sleep, but there's not much. Yeah, but there's just everything that I hear you do has such like purpose and drive, behind it, and you're clearly doing ministry like in everything that you're doing each and every day, which I think is phenomenal, And I think that the energy of that place clearly was very dark, and now
very dark.
It's the opposite, and that's got to be like permeating through the whole neighborhood, I'm guessing, like the surrounding areas.
Yeah, it is, and we're in what's called the West Bottoms in Kansas City, so it would be like I don't know, the place that everybody would call. I don't know what the new terminology is. I'm older now, but like what's popping or what's hot or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's a lot of young people here. And so, yeah, I'm really, really excited because it's an opportunity for us to do ministry when they didn't even know they were coming to be touched by God. And that's what I love.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. That's so cool. Well, when Lindsey and I are in Kansas City, we were supposed to go last year, but then the whole COVID thing, we are definitely coming to your restaurant. So I'm very excited to come check it out. So if anybody goes to your Instagram page or your Facebook page, it's very clear that fitness is a big part of the equation for you. And I wanted to talk about that because it is equally a big part of the equation for me. Like, I have found out that fitness really is my medication, if you will, for a positive mindset. And I have suffered, like, I've been pretty open about it, with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, kind of all throughout my adult life. And I have found that exercising and getting my body physical on most days is literally such a key factor. A lot of people, when they think about exercise, they think about, oh, I'm going to do it because I want to lose weight or I want to look a certain way. That's all great. It's definitely a perk. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's nice to fit into a certain size jean or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not, for me, that's not like what keeps me going. It's the mental high that I have, and the way it keeps my mindset in like a positive, peaceful place. So I'm assuming, even though we haven't talked about this yet, I'm assuming you can probably speak to that.
Yeah, my journey with health is different. I'm almost identical to my walk with God. It came out of the blue. I didn't pursue it. I didn't know anybody that was in the gym, but I had a very similar situation. My son was in the military, and he's was dorm chief, and then was able to pick any job. He did amazing on the ASVABs. So he's got this long plan of being in the Air Force, and he goes in, and I don't know, maybe 2 weeks later, he calls me and tells me this horrific things happened to him. And I mean, I'll share it. I've been down to the base and shared. He's pretty open to help other vets now too. But so he's a lot like I am. I've always attracted the older crowd than I was. So I've always been around people 10 or 15 or 20 years older than me, because I didn't have a lot in common with people my age. And so he was hanging around a sergeant, and the sergeant was kind of showing him the ropes, yada, yada, yada. And anyway, long story short, the sergeant put a date rape drug in my son's Coke or something. And so my son passes out, and when he wakes up, this guy's doing stuff to him. And so anyway, he calls me and tells me this. I'm in Home Depot ordering parts or something, and I fainted. But before I got all the way on the ground, I caught myself, and I remembered my son needs me. You can't do, I never fainted before, so it just took my breath. And so I'm a big protector. And if you remember when I asked God to give me a second chance, it wasn't for me, it was for my family. Mm-hmm. And so I've always been a huge protector. And so when this happened, I got Tracy on the phone. We drove straight there. We couldn't get a flight there fast as we could drive. Mm-hmm. Still a 20-some hour drive. Mm-hmm. And so we drove there and told the Master Chief Sergeant what happened, yada, yada, yada. And long story short, that ended up turning out okay. But what happened was I never had anxiety, so I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fearful person. Remember, I'm the guy who likes to walk on the edge, do crazy stuff. So I didn't have any fear of anything's going to happen to me. How I ended up in anxiety is I punished myself for not being able to protect him. Mm-hmm. So I made myself feel the fear, the pain he was feeling. I know that, I don't know why that's what I did.
Yeah.
And out of that, I started having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I'm literally thinking I'm going crazy. I don't know what this is. So I'm like, I can't leave the house. And I'm not like that. I'm a bulldozer. I'm always doing something, moving. And so I'm literally stuck in my room. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I can't leave out the house. Like it's an instant panic attack if I leave the house. Yeah. And I'm not scared to go outside. I don't think anybody's going to do anything to me or hurt me, but it's all mental. And so anyway, long story short, I was able to get in contact with the lady that did behavioral therapist. Tracy found this behavioral therapist. I didn't even know what that was, but I was willing to try anything at this point. Mm-hmm. And so it's only like 20 minutes away from my house, and I forced myself to drive there. And she told me one of the biggest things about anxiety, one of the biggest causes of like anxiety and panic attacks is dehydration. Mm-hmm. I never had a clue of that. I never heard of that. So I'm like, I did not believe her, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just stay hydrated just because you said I should. Yeah. And she gave me some more homework, and I did. Well, anyway, at the same time, there's this guy named C.T. Fletcher. I know a lot of people might not like him, who's a Christian because he uses bad language. He just does. I'm just going to tell you that ahead of time. And anyway, I'm watching this video.
I've seen his stuff too.
Yeah, so I'm just watching this video, and I have no idea. It had to be an absolute godsend how I seen the video because I'm not a video guy, especially back then. Yeah. And he was talking about unchain your mind. And he was talking about how fear had you gripped. And when however he was able to say that, I remembered who I was. I said, no, I don't fear anything. I'm not in fear of nothing. So I'm like, well, he's a prisoner or something because he's a big old bodybuilder. Remember, I'm just big, fat, out of shape. You know what I mean? I've never really worked out, and I didn't care to. Yeah. And I never cared about my health. That just wasn't important. And so he's all got a bunch of tattoos and real big and muscular. So I'm like, oh, this must be a prison guy. But you know what? If he was talking about how the gym helped him mentally and helped him to stay out of fear and so on. So I'm going to go to the gym. Yeah. So I started going to the gym just to get healthy. Mm-hmm. And about 6 months after I was in the gym, I decided I really want to see what my body can do. And then I started bodybuilding. But like you said, it releases endorphins. The way I feel when I come out of the gym, and my thing is like even with bodybuilding, I just wanted to see what my body could do, but I never really did it for a summer body or, some of the things that other people say. I just did it because I wanted to see what my body could do, but moreover to change my health forever. Mm-hmm. And that was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, not right up there with giving my life to God, but it was that important because I feel so much better every day, than I would had I let my health just go. Yeah. I didn't know how much it was going to affect my mental. I didn't know, but it really did. So did your anxiety
kind of just slowly start to go away the more that you were consistent at the gym, or is it still there, or how are you with it now?
My situation is a little different from a lot of anxiety situations. I went from full-blown can't leave my bedroom to forcing myself to go see this doctor and starting to go to the gym. Within a month, I was all the way out of the house and back working. Mm-hmm. I would say it took me 6 months to consistently fight off the thoughts when they were coming in because they were constantly coming in. Yeah. Within a year, I wasn't having anxiety attacks at all, period. And I don't have them anymore either.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
They've went away. That doesn't mean a thought might try to get me every once in a while, but I don't consider it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to consider it when it comes in. And one of the things that she taught me about anxiety is I don't have to indulge in the thought. So when the thought comes in, I'm in control of if I'm going to allow that myself to think about that thought and engage in that emotion.
Yeah.
And when she told me that, I was like, I'm getting ready to fight.
Yep.
I'm not going to let these thoughts control me anymore if I'm the boss. And so I had a
therapist tell me something similar many years ago when I was going through therapy. And I'm actually the same way, off all my medication now, haven't had a panic attack in probably over a year. Yeah. I figured out what works for me, like how to manage it. And it's this, I totally relate to, like, the thoughts still come in, but you have the tools and the resources to manage them. One of the things that I do that's huge to me is journaling. I talk about it all the time because I believe in the power of writing positive thoughts down, and, you know, prayer and affirmations and all that. But the thing my therapist said that was similar to yours is, she said, you know, if you picture your mind like a tree, you're going to have thoughts come in, and those are the birds. But you don't have to let them make a nest. They come in and you shoo them out. As quickly as they fly in, they need to fly right out. And so I think just training your brain to not, like, if a negative thought comes in, not to just sit there with it, like, be gone, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Master of your own mind. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, either your mind works for you or you work for your mind. 100%. Period. Emotions are the same way.
Yes.
You either manage your emotions or your emotions are going to manage you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love that. It's true. One last thing I wanted to bring up to you. You know, you touched briefly on, you grew up and kind of had a rough upbringing, and you said something to me, and I want to highlight this because I think it's important to highlight, like, where you were and where you are now, and what the power of God can do to transform anybody's life. But you said to me the first time we spoke back in the fall, you were talking about what happened with Lindsey and I and the shooting, and you actually said, you know, when I heard about that with you guys, my heart just went out to you because I knew that wasn't normal for you. And you said that kind of thing was normal for me. Like, if that happened in my life, I would have been like, okay, whatever. But you knew that wasn't the case for us. And when you said that to me, I was like, man, that is very profound. Really speaks to where you were. And just like I said, how far you have come through your relationship with God, and just sheer determination to have that I can attitude, like you said in the beginning, you know, which I think is so encouraging to anybody. And I will ask you that, like, what would be, after everything that you've gone through, all the trials and tribulations that you faced, and, you know, your faith walk, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's, like, in a really dark place right now?
I think the best piece of advice I could give anybody would be that the only truth that you're ever going to know comes from God.
Yeah.
And it's your job to find out what that truth is. And if you spend time with God, He'll show you that truth. And I'm not saying that because I read it or somebody told me that. I was in the dark place, you know, like you were saying about with shooting and stuff. I grew up with that. That was totally normal. And I was extremely violent when I was young. And so that was something God had to deliver me from, because I just thought that was normal. And it wasn't. But I grew up, I was product of my environment. So I didn't know. But God will meet you anywhere. I don't care what you're struggling with. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what's happened. I don't care where you've been. God will meet you where you are, meaning that whatever you're struggling with, He will be an ever-present help in a time of need for that particular situation right now. Yeah. Right this second, He'll help you in that. And all that you would have to do would be just to seek Him.
Yeah.
Lots of Christians think, well, I sinned, or, if I sinned 2 weeks ago, so, now God won't talk to me and all that. That is so far away from the truth. I was so dark when I gave my life to God and he gave me another chance. I was ashamed to go to church because I thought everybody in the church was angels. So I'm scared to death somebody's going to ask me about my past, because I'm not going to lie, but I'm just saying I have to leave because I can't tell them because I'm so ashamed of it.
Sure.
But the thing is, I always knew that God met me in my darkest hour. I was in trouble. I mean, I actually was working way more for the world and the devil than him. I mean, that's just being honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he met me there and took me out of that cesspool and set me up in the Garden of Eden and changed my life completely. Just like that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I did that I think is different from most is I really gave him a chance. Like I wasn't giving God a 911 prayer.
Yeah.
Oh God, if you help me this one time, and then go do the same thing again. I never looked back.
Yep.
I meant it.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking to God or you're praying to God, don't have any strings attached. If you're not going to do what God says, I've prayed this before. God, tell me what you want me to do. I'm not even going to tell you that I'm going to be obedient to it. Just tell me what you want me to do. And then that way I'll know. And then let me start spending some time in meditation, thinking about it, and so on and so forth. Most Christians would never, especially a pastor, would never tell people that you can pray that way. God knows you. You can't fool him. He knows what you're thinking.
He already knows your thought, whether you say it or not. He knows it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you would just be, the best word I can say is, everybody uses the word real. What I say is just be sincere, whatever it is, wherever you're at, be sincere in that. And that's where God will meet you right there and pull you out of the dark place, because he doesn't want you in the dark place. That's what you have to remember. Yeah. God's not punishing you. He didn't put you there. We live in a wicked world where all kind of evil stuff's going on all the time, and we're under attack, men and women of God. Yeah. It just is what it is.
100%. Yeah. And a lot of the times when you say, okay, God, I'm ready to trust you, it will often get harder before it gets better. Like people just think like, oh, I've said I'm a Christian, I'm going to have God in my life now, so like everything's going to get better, right? And it's like, no, it actually can get a whole lot more uncomfortable. At least it was in my case before it gets better. And I think, people need to be encouraged in that way too. Just like if you are trusting, and even if it gets uncomfortable, just know that there is a purpose. Jeremiah 29:11 is my verse that I go to, and there is a purpose, and it is for your good. So, yeah.
I want to share one more thing, just because it's so this is kind of the story behind me selling the company. So I've been a Christian for, at that time, about 5 years, and I was extremely blessed financially. And I love giving. So I was just, this isn't to brag, this is just the truth. I was giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars just all the time. Now, I'm not going around saying, look what I did. I'm secretly giving it. I'll go outside in front of a grocery store with $10,000 and tell the owner of the store, I'm paying for every single person that comes through this door's groceries. I don't care how much it costs. Wow. And they never know it was me. I'd never do, so I love doing that. So I'm thinking, I believe God and I trust God. Now, because remember, I talk to God and he shares things with me, shows me things. And then one night I said what you said. I said, okay, God, I'm ready. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
And God says, and I have to tell you the other part too. So we're, my kids are living like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right?
Okay.
So we're living well. I wake up the next morning. God says, don't take any phone calls from your company. Don't use any money in your bank account. Don't use any of your assets. Don't use your credit. Trust me. And that, now these are all specific instructions, of which I've never heard that happened to anybody else that I'd ever met. And I didn't, so I don't know how to do this or something like that. So, and then on top of that, the house I bought, I just finished the basement and put digital cameras, screens in everybody's room so we can talk to each other in our rooms and all that. And so I just spent $30,000 in this house over the last couple of months, just upgrading stuff. And I was buying this house from another man of God. Gosh, I forgot. I assumed the loan from him. And it was just a house. He moved to Atlanta. So I knew him. Wasn't no big deal. I put some money down. I've been making the payments. And I make them myself. They're in my name. And, he got in financial despair and had like 12 properties. In some kind of way, it was illegal and it got fixed later. But they were able to take this property from me. So we get a letter in the mail.
So your house, they take your house.
Yes. We get a letter in the mail. My brother is house sitting because I can't. Is that yours or mine? Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Did you get what? You got like a ding on your phone or something?
Yeah, my phone rang or something. And it's ringing again. It's not my phone.
That's
it's
okay.
Tracy's.
Yeah. No, I'm getting a drink of water.
Okay. Tracy, can you come fix the screen? Alexis is calling you.
Did your screen go out?
Yeah, it went over small. Can you turn your... No, I don't know what to turn off, actually. I don't know how to make it back big.
I am like so not technical. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, Tracy's an absolute lifesaver.
Sorry, I can't see.
I mean, if I have to, I can still look in the camera and talk to her.
Oh, can you not see me at all?
We can, but you're like in a little box.
Oh.
Over here. Like,
okay. Yeah.
Well, that got better. That's fine. Leave it like that. That's okay. That's good.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Tracy.
So, she said thank you. So we get a letter in the mail, or no, a letter comes to my house on the door. My brother was there at the time, and he called me and said, well, there's a letter on the door. The house has gone into foreclosure. And I said, just throw it away. That's somebody else's paperwork. I paid my house payments 2 months in advance. So I'm always ahead of I'm that kind of person. So I'm not even thinking nothing about that. And then but then later on the day, I said, you know what? That might be for my next door neighbor, and they might not know they're in foreclosure. Get that letter back out, and let me call the company and tell them that they accidentally put it on my door, and they need to get to the right person because somebody's in trouble. They said, no, I called. They said, no, it's your house. I'm like, it's impossible. I said, I paid 2 months in advance. There's no way. And they said, it's possible. And the banks didn't just take this house. They took several other houses. I'm like, well, what does that got to do with me?
Yeah.
You know? So I get in touch with him. He knew this was happening and he didn't tell me. And I called. He's like, yeah, man, I just didn't have the heart to tell you, man, and blah, blah, blah. So on top of not spending any of my money, not my credit, not my assets, no money in the bank, don't take any phone calls. Now we don't have anywhere to live. But remember, this was my word from God. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Now, at the time, I'm going to tell you I had 50-50 faith. And let me explain that real fast. God, I believe you up until here. And if it didn't show up by here, don't worry about it. I got us. Don't worry about it. You know, that's the faith I had. So if it didn't show up in a timely manner or the way I thought, then I take it from there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you step in.
So I'm going to jump in. So now he gives me more instructions. He said, don't go look for any houses. Don't shoot too low. And I'm like, well, we got to move. So I was like, okay, but I'm not going to do what you said. I'm not going to go look for any house. I'm not going to shoot too low. So I go get a U-Haul, and only like 25% of my furniture will fit in this giant U-Haul that's out in my front yard or in my driveway. So we're sitting there like that for a week. We're just full of furniture. I don't know where we're going. I'm just getting ready. Well, there was a house around the corner that we had looked at that's bigger and nicer than our house. It's been sitting for like a year and a half. We knew God laid it on our heart, but we thought it was for an investment property because we didn't want to move. We loved where we lived. And so anyway, we tried to get in contact with the owner for over a year and a half. And then one day Tracy was coming home and she said, because she was still a baby Christian, she's like, I just felt something pull me over to the house. So she gets over there. There's a guy out mowing the lawn. And she says, do you know the owner to this property? And he's like, yeah, I know him. I got to do a lot of properties for him. So anyway, she said, well, could you have him to give us a call? Before she gets home, we only live a couple of blocks from here, but before she gets home, this guy's calling. So she's like, yeah, we're going to be moving, and we felt, and we don't know this guy.
Yeah.
Tracy said, but we felt like God laid this house on our heart. We don't know what it means or whatever, and so on and so forth. But I want you to talk to my husband. At the time, I was a lot further along spiritually with God because I spent a lot of time with God. Tracy was a much slower, gradual, trusting and learning from God kind of deal. She had lost her mom, so, things like that. But so anyway, I call this guy. I tell him exactly what God said. I said, God told me not to use any of my money, any of my credit, any of my assets, because I could have went and built $1 million house right there if I wanted one.
Okay.
With my credit.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know how much money is going to come in that God's going to bless us with, but we need somewhere to live. And God is my witness. That man said, come right now and get some keys. So,
jeez.
So the guy who's his little maintenance guy that runs all his properties, we get the keys, move into the house. There's a pool next door. The community pool's next door. Anyway, there's a long story behind that too. There was an awesome testimony, but that was the beginning of me learning. I'm like, wow, God, my business I had all the faith in the world in because it produced so much income and resources for everything that we've needed. You had me shut that down to learn how to trust you, the true resource.
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest, I would never tell another person, I don't know how much money's coming in and I can't use my credit and God told me to do this. That's not logical. I'm a very logical, I would never do that.
Right.
But that's where I was. And that's where I really began to really trust God as my real resource and my real source in life.
Yeah. That's amazing. One of the things that stands out to me as I listen to you talk about that is you said, I was spending time with God on a consistent basis. And I think that's a point to highlight because, somebody that's listening might be saying, well, why isn't God telling me these things? Like he's given you all these great messages and like, hey, I need help. Like, I don't know which way to go. And why am I not hearing from God? And the first question I really think they should ask themselves if you're not hearing from God is how much time are you spending with him? Because you cannot hear from him. I always say this, it is a relationship and you have to put in the effort. It can't just be like, I'm waiting for him to just send this lightning bolt of truth to me. Like it has to be a relationship, and I think that's probably, if I'm guessing, why you were having such profound guidance in that time of your life is because you were dedicated to spending time with him,
For sure. And one of the things I just want to note while we're there, this is so important, is prayer is you communicating with God. Meditation is you listening to God.
Yeah.
The word tells us to meditate on the word. So that means meditating on the word. If I'm a brand new Christian, I've never heard from God, that just means me going in saying, God, I'm going to read some scripture and I need to hear from you to talk to me, not about the story or what happened to Abraham or David, or I need you to talk to me through the scripture. He'll honor that.
Yeah.
Tell
How does
me
this
what
apply
you're
to my
trying
life?
to tell me in this scripture.
Yep.
And he'll honor that. That's the best, because that's what the Bible says to do. It says to meditate.
Yes.
That means to listen, and it's real deep. It means a lot more than that. But I mean, it's really go in there, hear that word, get that word, and then write it down on the tablet of your heart.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we think prayer is this: God, I need this, I need that, help this person over there, help that person, and everything's going to be okay. In Jesus' name, amen. Then walk away.
Yeah.
Well, what other human or person or anything do you have a relationship with that you just do all the talking and you just walk away? But we do that with God all the time.
Yep.
And so prayer is us communicating a need or whatever we're trying to say. And then meditation is us hearing back from God.
I love that. I love that. And I'm glad you're using that word meditation, because so many people, a lot of believers have a very negative connotation of meditation.
I know.
And I have actually even shied away from it at certain points of using that word. But, you know, honestly, meditation has been fundamental for me. And is, for me, it's about being intentional with your thoughts. And like you said, I will often just pick a word or a verse or just even like a thought and just literally think about that thought and nothing else. You know, other things come in, but you just kind of go with it. But it's so important because it's putting that intention, you know, in that direction of God. And I think there's some huge power that comes from that, 100%. So I'm very glad that you brought that word up. Thank you.
And I mean, the word tells us that, but we don't really understand. We don't know. We don't really pay attention to it. It's what I've learned as most Christians. It's just like, do you meditate on the word? Not really. That's what most would say. But, you know, that was an absolute vital thing in my relationship, in my walk with God in the beginning. And I'm going to tell you how I was able to do that. I didn't know anything about God. So most Christians think they already know everything. Oh, yeah, I know that verse. You say you know it, but you don't live by it. And I didn't know anything. So I read one time in the Bible, Jesus said, go in the prayer closet. It was over. I'd go in the prayer closet. I'd stand there for 12 hours sometimes, just waiting for him to say something or show me something.
Okay, I'm here.
Because I don't know what to do. I told him I'm going to live for him, so he's got to tell me what to do, because I don't know what to do. I can't do what I've been doing. And that spending that time with him was so vital to where I'm at today and where I was at then and all that. So absolutely a must for anybody who's truly going to walk with God. You have to have a relationship, just like you said. You have to have a relationship with him that goes two ways.
I agree 100%. I used to be the Christian that I was 10 or 15 years ago. I kind of cringe at a little bit because I was that person that could quote all the verses, but, you know, was very hypocritical, very judgmental, you know. And I'm like, oh. And now it's like, I know verses. I know the word, but it is the emphasis of my faith walk and what I tell people is it always draws back to the relationship. You know, I don't know all the answers. I'm not perfect, far from it. I have made my share of mistakes. I have sinned. I have done all of that, but I do have a strong relationship with Christ, and every single day I'm spending time with him because I can't live this life without it. It is fundamental to me, you know, and bringing up two boys, I am doing my best to try and get them to understand that connection too, because, you know, we have a duty with this younger generation. My mom always says to me, she's like, I do not envy you raising children in today's world, because we have all these attacks, and we have to give them these tools, you know, that you and I are talking about today. We have to give them these tools. So
I fully agree. And I want to say this before we go on, because I know we're getting ready to leave, but I discern and sense that you have a relationship with God. And I don't say that out loud to a lot of people because that might freak somebody out. But like when you're praying and I come online and I get in agreement with you, it's a real connection with God. We're just not saying, God, please help help this and help that. You know, it's not that. It's a genuine need being expressed with passion and really believing for God's best. So I can discern your heart for God. So I want to say that I think that's amazing. Unfortunately, and I'm going to be honest, I don't experience that with a lot of Christians. A lot of Christians will ask me to pray for them, and they just say, pray I get a new job. Well, let's pray for God's will first. Maybe I know your bills are saying you need a new job, and I don't know you. I'm not saying you don't need a new job. But let's talk to God about it. If you want a new job or he's got a new job for you, let's believe for his best. So Mark 11:23 and 24 is what I live by.
Oh yeah, I know those.
That's
so funny you should say that. Mark 11:24. I put after Lindsey and I went through a really difficult time. We had the shooting. Then a year later, all the trauma, we almost divorced. When we were going through that time, I literally wrote down Mark 11:24. It is still by my bathroom mirror. I'm going to send you a picture of it. It is still there. Okay. I love it because, you know, when you can see it and you believe it, you will receive it. That's right. Faith. that faith
That's
piece
right.
that comes in. So, man, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So
I
we could just keep going back and forth.
One more thing.
I know, but I know
We'll
you're busy and you got that restaurant to get back to along with everything else. But I'm so glad that we got to connect. I look forward to Lindsey and I getting out there sometime and meeting you guys in person, and tell your wife I appreciate her lending you to us for a little while.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
yeah, really encouraged by everything you said today. And I know that you're doing God's work clearly, and you're just going to continue to. So God bless you and all that you do. All right.
God bless you. And thank you guys for the amazing ministry that you guys are doing. The purpose and reason I believe I got with Lindsey years ago is because I believed in him and his common sense knowledge about health.
Yeah.
And then now you're here and you're like a whole another component.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a divine connection that God put us in each other's paths.
Yeah.
Even back then and now we're a lot closer, but I feel the same way about you guys. And so I definitely see you guys doing God's work, not just saying that. I mean it and I see it. So.
I truly appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. All right. We're good, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.